It's another one of my top 10 lists, and this time it's central midfielders. Midfielders that you might suggest to your mates, this is who you should go and sign. Not necessarily the very best, not necessarily bargains, but ones that you would go and recommend. These are my favourites. Let's start with number 10. And we start with this man here, Adam Wharton, who in this particular save, which I'm going to use my Paris FC DOF save to show you this, which is a couple of seasons in. We're at 2025 April look at this stage here, just so you have the full context. We have Adam Wharton. He starts the game at Blackburn Rovers, so don't be fooled. He has moved to Ipswich in this particular save file because they have got themselves to the Premier League. And this guy can definitely hold his own in the Premier League. He actually develops into a fantastic midfielder. One of the midfielders on the list today that is a little bit younger and will develop into a top, all-round, well-rounded midfielder. I am a big fan. I especially like his passing, his vision, like 16 vision in this particular save here. 21 years old, England under-21 international Adam Wharton. Used him in a few saves, in some saves that you might see on the channel in the future. Big fan. He comes in at number 10, and today we're going to go through from number 10 all the way up to number 1. You probably would have guessed that, right? If this is useful though, please just consider subscribing to the channel. Get that in nice and early, and hopefully you find some midfielders in here that take your fancy, that maybe you're going to use in your saves. I'm going to try and cover the more defensive type of midfielders, some box-to-box type midfielders, and also maybe a couple of those more attacking number 10 type attacking midfielders, because there's obviously a range and they're very different types of players. These are my favourite 10. And as always with these videos, there is going to be some disagreements. You probably won't agree with some of the choices that I've got in here. You'll probably be screaming at your screen saying, why haven't you included X, for example? And that's great. That's fine. Different opinions. Different strokes for different folks. What I'm going to ask you to do is put them in the comments down below so that we have my list as well as your suggestions down below in the comments. How does that sound? I think it sounds great. Let's have a look then at number 9. And in at number 9, I've gone for a slightly more left field choice. This is a man that I had great fun with on FM24, and I'm very happy to say that he's really good on FM24 as well. It's Juan Sforza. I'm probably not saying that correctly, but he's an Argentinian midfielder with under 23 caps in this particular universe. I don't know if he's got them in real life. Left-footed, another central midfielder. He's going to play in this actual centre midfield role rather than a defensive or an attacking one. Probably could play as the attacking midfielder. Great passing and vision. A bit of a passer rather than an engine in the middle. He's often very attainable and particularly cheap. In this save universe here, he's between 1 million and 9 million pounds. You can go and afford to bring him in to a Premier League team. And if you're maybe a lower half one, or even one up that you want a squad player in the higher regions of the Premier League, I think he would do a job for you. And yeah, I like him a lot. Juan Sforza comes in at number 9. Let's move through to number 8. And that man is going to be this guy here, João Veloso, a player from a team that we might revisit later on in the video. You can probably guess it. I'm sure you maybe already have done as well. He seems to be the go-to signing. But we'll come on to this man's teammate a little bit later on, because in his own right, João Veloso is a fantastic midfielder. One that you guys suggested pretty heavily when I put a tweet out asking for who would you recommend as a signing. I asked you to consider the factors such as value for money, whether you can actually sign them, and maybe things like how do they develop into the future. This guy was in a lot of your suggestions, and I had to include him because I really like him too. If you have a look at the highlighted attributes for an advanced playmaker, all of them are really strong. The flair's there as well at 16, but it's all the highlighted ones that are really good. 12, 13, 14, and then I guess there are some gaps in between, but I think he's really good. Again, another youngster, only 19 here. He starts the game at, I think it's 18. I'm trying to do the maths there. I think he's 18 at the very beginning. He's in the B team here. Again, attainable, 10 to 15 million. Don't think he's got a release clause. He doesn't in this particular save anyway, but I'm sure if you are most clubs, you could go and maybe get this guy, maybe on loan at the start. I've found that you can go and get loan players in quite easily. Doesn't really matter on your reputation. I'm doing a journeyman save. We started in Greece and managed to bring in some really good young players by loaning them. So try it out. Have a go. I would recommend João Veloso. He's number 8. Let's have a look at number 7. And at number 7 is this man here, a Croatian midfielder. Again, he is one that was suggested by so many of you. 22 years old in my universe here. He starts the game in Dinamo, or at Dinamo in Croatia. Again, meaning should be attainable. You should be able to go and get him out of there. He is so good. I love him. He's a bit different to the other ones that we've looked at so far. Definitely more of a dribbler with this 17 dribbling here, and the more of a Metzala type role. I think if you want to maybe have a slightly more attacking setup, have this guy picking up the ball, dribbling with it, finding those half spaces, I would really highly recommend Martin Baturina. Again, loads of you said him. I really like him. Only 5'8", so if you're looking for a big midfield, maybe he's not the one, but he's also so young at the start of the game. 20, 21 at the very beginning. He's moved to Porto here, where he's starting most games. Not the best average rating this season, though. If this was in the game here, he's had a fantastic season. 12 goals, 7 assists, 7 player of the matches. I think this is the first season of the save game, isn't it? 7.34, earning him this move to Portugal, where he's found himself in the first team here. Big fan. Martin Baturina, the Croatian. Let's have a look at number 6. And that man is Lazar Samardzic. More of an attacking midfielder, this one. Have a look at the star ratings on him. 23 years old, Serbian international. I would potentially be using him in this number 10 spot. But have a look at his technicals. This guy, if you can go and get him, might be a bit more expensive. He is at Udinese. I think that's a team that you can go and you can pluck him from potentially. If you can get him, though, play him as your number 10 and just see what happens. Great dribbling, first touch, long shots is in there, which could be a lot of fun. Great flair, passing, technique, the vision. Go and get him to pull the strings in your midfield. Maybe from the number 10 spot. Could deploy him a little bit deeper as well. I actually remember this guy when he was a wonder kid way back on, I think it was FM19, I want to say. He was at Hertha Berlin, and I used to do a lot of Hertha Berlin saves. And I remember trying to get him into the team to try and develop him, to try and turn him into the world beater that it looks like he's going to become on this year's game. Only 23, only going to get better. If you can bring him in for maybe a little bit cheaper than this, it might be on the higher end in terms of value when we're looking at these players today, but I don't think you can go too far wrong. Maybe lacking in physicals, that's being a bit harsh. Left-footed, I mean, these physicals are fine, especially at 23. They should maybe include, he's actually 6 foot. He's not the biggest I was going to say, but he's actually 6 foot. He definitely wasn't that back on FM19. I like him a lot, though. Big fan. Serbian international Lazar Samardzic is at number 6, and that takes us through to our top 5. Right, halfway through, number 5, it is a classic, and I couldn't really ignore him and not put him in here because I think people would be shouting about him in the comments down below, which I'm expecting anyway, but that man is going to be Kefren Turam. You might need to move a little bit quicker to make sure you get this man, and he won't quite be as expensive as this, but he's such a good FM midfielder. He can do it all. He has the stature of a 6'4" man with the pace and the acceleration of a winger, with the first touch and the passing of a deep line playmaker, with the technique to play a little bit further forward. Maybe you want him tackling with his 13 tackling. He can kind of do it all. He's one of those all-rounder midfielders, and if you can get him into your team, you've done all right, I think. Yes, he was really good on last year's game. Maybe he's a little bit obvious, but again, so many of you were pointing him out in the responses to my tweet that I kind of had to include him, and I'm a big fan myself. He's one of those that was linked to Liverpool in the summer that I could kind of see it. I could see why he was being linked. Maybe a bit disappointed we didn't get him, but we got some good midfielders anyway, didn't we, here at Liverpool? Anyway, he comes in at number 5. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Let's have a look at number 4. And in at number 4 is another man that was highly suggested. He's more of an attacking midfielder. His name is Tommaso Boldanzi. Another one that was actually really good on last year's game. He was definitely one that was on the list. He's a year older and perhaps a year better as well. Great dribbling, first touch, passing technique, play him in behind the strikers, amazing determination and off the ball in this particular save. Obviously, also bear in mind, some of these attributes are going to be slightly different in your save. It's either because of dynamic potential abilities or just because of how they've developed in this particular save as we're a year and a half in. So please don't look at these and think mine doesn't look like that. That's going to happen. They're going to vary from save to save, etc. He, though, perfectionist personality, he should have that in your saves. Lots of you are telling me how good he has been for you. I've signed him in the past. He's great. Tommaso Boldanzi, high up in my list because have a look at him. He's good, isn't he? And he takes us through to our top 3. And in at number 3 is Sverre Hauset Naipan, one of the most anticipated Wonder Kids this year. Once everybody got the game and started looking through those Wonder Kid lists, he was very much high up there, wasn't he? Sverre Hauset Naipan can definitely play further forward, but if you bring him in early in your save, I think you're going to be looking at a player that's even better than this. And he's, what, 16, 17 at the start of the game? I actually need to make sure he's in my face pack because he's now just a silhouette currently for me. Usually he does have a face and he can actually develop into a really good player. Still only 18 here. Please bear that in mind when you have a look at some of these attributes. He can develop into a midfielder that can do it all. And loads of you are attesting to that in the responses to the tweet too. Either footed, could definitely play further forward, but maybe play him as a playmaker a little bit deeper. He's got that passing, that technique, really good vision, 14s and 13s in there. 16 flair as well. Seems to be a bit of a trend actually, those 16 flair midfielders. I'd be using him maybe as a 10 if he's a little bit younger. Maybe though, as one of these advanced playmakers might be the best way to go for him. Not necessarily the most physical with these physical attributes, but you might not need it. Really like him, especially he's one that has a lot of youth on his side, the potential to become a genuine world beater. And because he's at Rosenborg and his value is quite low, you should be able to go and pick him up for your team as well. I think you might have to wait a little bit at the start of the game because I think he may have just signed a contract or he's too young, or I've never been able to sign him immediately, but he is definitely worth the wait. Let's have a look at my selection for number 2. And that man is the man with the extremely difficult name to pronounce. Asan Ouedraogo is the way that I'm going to go for it. Let me know in the comments down below. You love to correct people on their pronunciations, as does most of the YouTube comment section across the whole platform. I know that. Asan Ouedraogo is the way I'm going to go for it. Does he have another nationality? Is that where his name comes from? He's Burkina Faso. Is that in French? I want to say the name's French. Do they speak? Is that the first language in Burkina Faso? Let me know that one in the comments down below. Every day is a school day, isn't it? Either way, though, regardless of his heritage, this man right here is a fantastic footballer. Another one that has youth on his side, and I think he becomes a better version of Kefren Turam, in my opinion. He can again go and do everything. You can mould him into whatever type of midfielder you are really looking for. He has low tackling on here, but I think if you wanted to use him a bit deeper as like a playmaker, you could definitely do that. He's also 6'3", so if you want him to kind of win those aerial battles, sometimes. I remember at the start of one of the versions of FM where if you deployed a really tall defensive midfielder, it would cut out really long goal kicks that would somehow go all the way through, and that was the way home. So could be useful to do that if we were to go back to those times. Either way though, love him. Really, really, really strong midfielder. Asan Ouedraogo also starting at Schalke in the 2nd division of Germany. So if you can get him nice and early, you might be able to get him for super cheap. I've seen him being transfer listed in multiple saves. I think I tried to pick him up in the Newcastle save because he was transfer listed for like 2 million. You can really get yourself a bargain. Even here, look, a year and a half in, he's what, 15 million pounds, which, I mean, I'll show you how much he cost by asking the agent here. Yeah, between 15 and 17 million pounds. If you're going to, maybe you do a bit of a structured deal using future installments, get yourself a bargain, get this guy and just have your midfield sorted for years and years to come. And maybe just maybe you could pair him with the number 1 on our list, which, have you guessed it? It is João Neves. Of course it is. I mean, I think you probably did guess it, didn't you? This guy is a joke. So good. I'm really intrigued to see how his career in real life unfolds because he has been so highly rated in Football Manager this year. I've seen him linked in real life to lots of big teams too. Again, Liverpool were linked with him and I thought, you know what? I can get behind that because Football Manager usually don't miss with these things, do they? 20 years old for me here. Starts the game at 18 or 19. I think it might be 19. And he's already an incredible midfielder. If I was to bring him in here, look at the green attributes: 17 aggression, bravery, concentration, determination, work rate. Again, mold him into whatever type of midfielder you want him to be. He can even tackle a little bit too, which is always good. The marking isn't even that low. If you wanted to be a ball winner, you could. If you wanted to be a Metzala, for me, he's got 5 stars. That's because I'm Paris FC, which I guess kind of skews it. Who's he linked with? He's linked with Real Madrid. That kind of says it all, doesn't it? Bring him in alongside Camavinga and Tchouaméni and all that lot and Bellingham. I'm sure he would hold his own amongst those godlike players too. He is just really good. He's 40 to 57 million pounds here. You sign him a little bit earlier on, you're getting a wonder kid for a little bit cheaper than this too. He might cost a lot, but I would highly, highly recommend him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, does conclude my top 10 list. There are loads that I could have included. I'm thinking of one right now that I was just comparing him to, which is Archie Gray at Leeds. Love him as a midfielder. Not quite made my top 10 because he could be a bit expensive, but there are loads. So if you have other ones, let me know who you're thinking of in the comments section down below. I apologize if your favorite isn't in there. You don't need to shout at me because these are just my favorites. This is just my top 10. It's opinions. We love each other's opinions and we respect them, right? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Quick, cheerful, top 10 central midfielders, some attacking ones, some more defensive ones, some box-to-box type ones. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. If it has been, please subscribe to the channel. If you've enjoyed this video, leave a like on it because it really does help. And hopefully you did enjoy, and hopefully you have a lovely rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.